1985, the decade that just keeps getting better. Depends who you are, I guess. I thought it kept getting better. Again, most of what was a lot of the stuff in the charts I didn't like. You could see the albums behind me are all from 1985, so there was some pretty good music. You know, What I Lied to You from Eurythmics, you know, Talking Heads. They had Little Creatures, a really good album. Howard Jones came out with a really good album in 85. Phil Collins, he had a number of hits, so there was some really good stuff in 85. But we're going to go through my favorite, the best. The first one, the first two didn't quite make it. I just ran out of room on the wall. But the Dead Milkmen, they came out with this, Big Lizard in My Backyard. You know, I could have just, you know, done this for the, for Bitch and Camaro. I love Bitch and Camaro. This is just fun punk. This is just fun punk where they're totally irreverent on here. I mean, and it is really violent school junkie, right-wing pigeons taking retards to the zoo, spit sink, plumb dumb. Yeah, there's just, it's the Dead Milkmen. It's what you get. Speaking of Dead, also, Dead Kennedys put out their famous Penis album. Yes, the poster is in this one. It's a beautiful, nice original. But for me, this just wasn't as good as the first three Dead Kennedys. It began to lose some of its stuff. This was the first Dead Kennedys I ever bought. Obviously, I had to re-buy it again after the flood. But luckily, this beautiful copy came in. Just a lot, costs a whole lot more, but Dead Kennedys. So number 10, now let's get into the list. Number 10 that year, for me, my 10th favorite album. Out of Oregon, Portland, The Miracle, the Miracle Workers. And the name of the album is Inside Out. This was their first full-length album. You know, they started in 82. Of course, this came out in 85. This is done, you think of the Chesterfield Kings, if you know them, similar to this. Garage rock was having a huge revival. 60s garage rock was a big deal. It's like every 20 years you see that in music. You know, finally, you know, a younger generation discovers the music from 2 decades ago and say, this talks to me, this means a lot to me, and then they want to reproduce it. And that's what was happening. And there was a lot of great garage rock going on in 85. And you started in 84. Paisley Underground kind of moved into this. This is a great album. You could think of the Sonics, but also there's, you know, touches of the Stooges, Flamin' Groovies, and MC5 happening. If you want really fun garage rock 80s style, you won't get better, to me, than the Miracle Workers. Very good stuff. There might be a better one, though. Next one, coming out from the land down under, the Hoodoo Gurus. And I think, for me, this is my favorite Hoodoo Guru album. This is college rock. This is what college rock was all about. And most of my selection is basically college rock. So this is Mars Needs Guitars. Mars Needs Guitars. Fun name, isn't that? On here, I mean, this group, you talk about sharp wits, they had it. I mean, they made really great lyrics. It's garage rock, though. Definitely garage rock. It's filled with these brilliant, sharp songs. They're bittersweet. Yeah, I think one of them here. Hey Ride to Hell. Hey Ride to Hell, it's like a hillbilly freak out. That's what it seems like. We have, well, you know, Mars Needs Guitars. It's kind of like a B-movie soundtrack happening. And it just has that you know, like kind of B-movie stomp going on. Really good. It's just 60s era pop with garage rock. Fun stuff. You know, they did a lot of great stuff, the Hoodoo Gurus. You can find a lot of their albums out there. Very inexpensive, unlike a Dead Kennedys, and well worth looking into. That's what you like. Coming in at number 8. My emails are suddenly just going nuts, so I hope there wasn't anything I'm supposed to be answering right now. Okay, Run DMC. And this is their second album. And what an album. They brought out the guitars, and they were massive what they did on here. There is, I mean, you talk about, they brought in the future. They took heavy metal guitars and they married it with rap. And, you know, it just starts when you start with Rock Box. It's just, the guitars are incredibly good. This got white America interested in rap. It really did the trick. King of Rock, You're Blind, two others, just hard rockin' song. Rats, rap, and reggae. Took rap and reggae and put together. It really hadn't been done, and that was really daring back in 1985. It's been done all over the place now, but in 85, they did it, and they gave it a try, and it worked. And so they just, to me, this is my favorite Run DMC album. It was the first one that I bought just because you know, King of Rock was just so amazing. And yeah, it took them off. And of course, their next album, they went in with Aerosmith for Walk This Way. But this is the one that really, this got white America really interested into rap. That's number 8. Number 7. The Del Fuegos, Boston, Mass. That's my original. When this came out, I went and bought it. And the very first song, Don't Run Wild. I mean, I played that over and over and over. It was so good. So much fun. It's part of the roots rock movement. So not so much as garage rock, but it's going more back into your roots rock. Second album. So on DMC, second album. Here's the second album. There was no sophomore slump going on. Maybe their first album didn't do well, but this one was really good. It's hard rocking. It's infectious. It's pure. It's entertaining. It's just straight ahead rock and roll. You can't go wrong. And it's really inexpensive. You see it out there all the time from the Del Fuegos on that cool Slash label. We have inner sleeve here. Nice pictures. There's the band. Really fun stuff. And part of the college rock movement that was happening. But this one caught my attention. And, you know, it was just in bargain bins. I go, why don't people like the Del Fuegos? What's wrong with them? If you're going to get one Del Fuegos, this is it. And just for Don't Run Wild. Amazing. Amazing. So I believe I said that was 7. 6, 5, 4, yeah, okay. I've been doing pretty good on keeping track. Number 6, The Fall. And this is This Nation's Saving Grace. It's hard to read grace on there. When I first bought this, actually I bought it in the 90s, or it might have been the early aughts. I was just bargaining into the dollar bins. And I thought, The Fall, I know The Fall, but I really don't know anything about them. So I bought it, and my thought was, well, that kind of, I didn't like it at all. 20 years later, I've rediscovered The Fall, and they are great. And this is an extremely good album. This is a fantastic album. It is just these twanging lead guitar hooks that are happening. It's filled with distorted guitars and bludgeoning drums. I mean, they just pound the bejesus out of the drums. And the bass, it's this funky bass happening, and it's there. It's loud. It's up front. They do a song called here, I Am Daniel Suzuki. Yeah, I Am Daniel Suzuki, you know, which is their tribute to Can and to Daniel Suzuki. And so they actually take excerpts from Can, or at least arrangements from Can, and they play it on there. You know, it starts, one of the lyrics that, you know, toward the beginning of this is, feel the wrath of my bombast. And that's what they're doing. Very political group. Mid-80s, things still weren't great in the UK. There was a lot of people really upset. Unemployment, everything was not going their way. So The Fall were a big part of, hey, here's what we don't like. Beggar's Banquet. Very cool label. Just an album that with time I have come to truly appreciate and really love. And, you know, this came in at my local Radio Wasteland when during that punk collection that he had. And I said, let me try him again. Because I wasn't sure about him. Let me just try it again. And I'm so glad I did. And I now own a lot more Fall. And they got a billion albums. Number 5. Number 5. Green on Red. I've talked about this group a lot. This is their best album. This is, to me, the peak of Green on Red. After that, I think they lose it. There's the original that I had of it. Again, liked it so much, I had to keep that. The kind of inner sleeve, nope, just white. So, Green on Red, Americana, roots music, college rock. This is really what college rock is all about. Gas, Food, and Lodging is the name of this album. And, I mean, really, it looked at, you know, Reagan was in the White House. And as they were doing the touring, as they're in their little tour van going around, they were writing lyrics of what they were seeing. So you have songs in here about, drunk, people being drunk, about losers, drifters, psychopaths. That's what you're getting. They're painting a very bleak picture of what they're seeing in America at that time. This is a rocking album. It really goes. And they were moving more and more into more of a country rock type format. When they started, they were Paisley Underground. You don't have any of the Paisley Underground really in this. This is American roots rock, and it's done in an excellent way. It's probably, it is by far the best Green on Red. If you're ever going to get one, Gas, Food, and Lodging is the one to get. You just, you'll be very satisfied. Number 4. And we have Tears for Fears. When this originally came out, wasn't a big fan. It was all over the airwaves. It's like, oh God, just another, there's the label. It's like, oh gee whiz, just, you know, shoot me now with Shout and all that. Through the years, I've really grown to appreciate this and now to love this album for what they did. This was their second album. There's a lot of second albums on here that really, really did well. And so, you know, the name of the album is Songs from the Big Chair. This is complex pop sophistication. I think that's the easiest way to really say what it is. Everyone Wants to Rule the World's on here. It's just this dreamy, timeless pop classic. You have Shout, which is such a dramatic song. You know, that really, it's exciting. Head Over Heels, just shimmering beauty. There's so much good stuff. I think they might have had 4 hits off of this. But it got them noticed. I've been trying to get their first album because they're hurting, and I've seen it come up once in a while, but I just don't get to the record store quick enough to get it. Because I've really learned to appreciate this group and the complex music that they made. They really were able to make incredible, beautiful pop tunes, but also ones that are powerful and mean something. So my number 4, Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. Number 3, man, this thing is so bloody awesome. Jesus and Mary Chain. That was the vinyl that I had beforehand. This is their debut, and I mean, psycho candy. And it, to me, this is the album that made a million other bands or 1,000 bands become shoegaze. This is the grandfather, the granddaddy of shoegaze. This is where it started. They made the world safe for white noise because a lot of people weren't digging white noise. Look at Suicide. I mean, it's like, what the hey? Clearly influenced by the Velvet Underground, clearly influenced by Suicide and a few others. But it was amazing. It was they orchestrated a sound that was dense and squalling feedback. How they started, and the God-honest truth is, they didn't have a job. They tried different things. They didn't want to work. They had no interest in having to work. So they found some secondhand, a guitar, and I think a bass, and they took that, and they didn't know how to play it, but they found they could make noise, and they could make a lot of noise. And so they decided, well, let's just do that. And so they began to learn their craft, but the fact that they really weren't proficient with their instruments, all the feedback hit it. And so, it kind of, okay, they would play and, just make this loud sound, and you couldn't hear the mistakes, basically. But here, this is amazing. Again, thousands of shoegaze bands started because of this. It is, to me, a beautiful fusion of noise and pop. And that's the thing of Jesus and Mary Chain. The Jesus and Mary Chain. When you listen, you got to listen. Underneath this layers of white noise that's going on, there is a pop melody. And they are incredible 60s pop songs. They understood that, and they were able to make that, and you can hear it. You have the classic Just Like Honey. Such a beautiful song. Gorgeous song. But there's a lot of noise happening. The Hardest Walk, and You Trip Me Daily, was it? You Trip Me Up. Classics. Just incredibly wonderful stuff. This is just an amazing album when you get past the distortion and listen to really what's going on. The Jesus and Mary Chain, Psycho Candy. Man, I love that album. Number 2. And we have the Replacements, Tim, Coming Out of Minneapolis. That was my original I had. See, I do get some of these replaced. Okay, Tim. This is their major label debut for Sire. This is garage punk. Basically, their garage punk sound was cleaned up on this. Sire brought in some better producers, and what they did is they used a click track. The click track was to keep the rhythm section on track. That's why, their other albums you listen to, they're fast, they're loud, they're snotty, because it just began taking off, but they couldn't keep that certain rhythm going, and so things went faster and faster and faster. Here, we slowed it down. And what they did is that they made some incredibly good music. Westerberg finally began writing beautiful songs. He showed what he was able to do. He made what was it here? Bastards of Young, good hard rock song. Left of the Dial, that's a college radio classic. Here Comes a Regular, a song about loneliness. Kiss Me on the Bus, it's a love song. And he's making all this. It sounds so incredibly good. Bobby Stinson on guitar. They keep him under control. Maybe twice he takes off of his guitar, but for the most part, they keep him down. And it showed some of the great music that was coming out of Minneapolis. But this is about observation and Westerberg's observation, what he was seeing. Finally, my number 1 album for that year. This went really long. Uska New Day Rising. This was my very first Uska album. That is the original from that first one. It's still my favorite Uska album by far. Out of Minneapolis. Replacements, Uska out of Minneapolis. Oh yeah, and that Prince guy too. New Day Rising. This is just a magna opus. It is so wonderful. It is vicious. It's vicious and relentless, but it's also filled with melody, and that's the crazy thing. Bob Mould and Gary Hart, they tightened up their songwriting, and they made these wonderfully crafted melodic pop songs. But still, the songs have this volcanic power that's happening. I mean, this is filled with pure power, but yet underneath these raging guitars and pounding drums, it is incredible melody. It starts with New Day Rising. You have I Apologize is on here. Terms of Psychic War. Books about UFOs. What a great song. How to Skin a Cat. It cracks me up. How to Skin a Cat. Yeah, to get into it. What You Drink At celebrates a perfect example. It's great song after great song after great song. This is one of my all-time favorite albums, and there's for good reason. Actually, those other ones were too. But this is Uska Do. Zen Arcade was phenomenal. But here, the songcraft, the writing, Mold and Grant, they were like fighting each other to see who could write the best. And they went at it, and it came out here. Excellent album. So there we have it. That's 85 for me. Wonderful year. Just exciting music, and it was just a big part of my life. I guess I was 26 years old and really enjoying college rock, and that's what most of those were. Thanks for joining in, and drop by on Sunday. Bye.